Thank you so much for being with us today, and I'm delighted to welcome my guest, Diane Wing. Diane Wing, MA, is an author, a teacher of energetic consciousness, and a personal development and spiritual growth coach. She has created a body of work that's infused with wisdom, shadow, curiosity, and spiritual depth. From cozy mysteries and dark fantasy to transformative nonfiction, her stories invite readers to explore both the mysteries of the world and the ones within themselves. Diane's ability to blend metaphysics, psychology, and personal growth through storytelling creates a deeply layered experience for her audience. Readers searching for meaning, mystery, and magic in their fiction and nonfiction alike will enjoy Diane's books. And I can say that is very true.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
Diane. Let's talk a
Thanks
little
so
bit.
much.
Let's talk a little bit about your process.
My process, it really depends on what I'm writing. So, fiction, general fiction, there's a bit more latitude, and I usually start with what if? What if this happened? What if this was the situation in the world? What if I was in this position, whatever that is, and just take it from there and try to get the characters to grow in response to whatever that scenario is. When I'm writing cozy mysteries, it's a different process because it's severe outlining, because I look at it as a puzzle and all the pieces have to fit together, or the reader's going to go, what? Or you didn't give me all the information I need to try to solve this mystery. Right? We have to be true to the reader. So my process changes depending on what I'm writing. When it's enlightening nonfiction, I outline because I want to make sure that my presentation is cohesive, taking you from that beginning step all the way through to what might be more advanced. And in addition, for nonfiction, I also include exercises so that people can practice applying the concepts, because knowledge without application is useless.
Very, very true. Spoken like a true teacher. So let's talk just a minute about where you got some of your ideas from. Where did the ideas come for some of your books?
Some of them have come in dreams, some of them just walking in the woods. Some of them, I'll tell you a story about a specific story from the Thorn Manor and Other Bizarre Tales collection. That's a horror collection, so if you're not into scary stuff, don't read that one. But there's a story in there about a demon who comes to try to take over the world. But first, because he's muddy from climbing out of the hole, he wants to get spruced up before he makes his presentation. And he sees a beauty salon. And that's all I'm going to tell you, because I love that. That's one of my favorite stories. I laughed when I was writing that. And I know it's supposed to be horror, but I thought it was funny. But where I got the idea from, do you ever have a big round brush and there's a handle, and in the handle there's like a spike, and you pull that out and you turn it around so you can take layers of hair. So here's a spiked brush, and that's where the idea came from.
Oh, wow.
So you can be triggered by anything. If you're an author, it's really important, I believe, it's really important to keep a running list of the ideas that come through, because you'll think, oh, I'll remember that. You won't. Just write it down. Keep a pad next to your bed with a pen and write it down immediately. I mean, I've got pages of story ideas and book ideas and snippets of things that have come through even while I'm writing something else. So I'm big on lists and making sure that I capture it and write it down.
Yes, such a good point. When you are a writer, officially you are a writer. We always have some way to capture those ideas because they're like fireflies. Blink and gone.
Yes, yes. Even a title, if it flashes in, write it down.
Yeah.
There was something that came through and I didn't write it down. I was like, ah. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't bring it back in. I was so frustrated. The other major thing is back up your work. I spent days on a manuscript. This was years ago because I learned my lesson. Days. I was saving, I thought. I went to go get it. Gone. Completely gone. I was going to commit Harry Carey. I was beside myself. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but I had to come around to the notion that maybe I had to approach the material differently. So maybe it was a good thing. I like to find the silver lining, but let me tell you, I was so upset. So now I have, and I don't put it in the cloud because that can be hacked. So I've got a hard drive, an external hard drive that I use to back up my stuff. And yes, there can be mechanical error, but it's backed up. If I send it to my beta readers, they have a copy. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
just back up your backup and make sure that it's always available to you so you don't have to go through that.
Yes, absolutely. I email it to another one of my email addresses. So I've got three email addresses so that it's in the email attachment. So I can make sure, yes, 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 you have to back everything up
Yes.
for sure. Yeah. I've had those Harry Carey moments myself. Do
Yeah, it's
you
bad.
prefer outlining? You said you outline some things and you don't others. So how does that work?
So I outline the things that have components that all have to fit together. Cozy mysteries, any mystery, has to have logical sequence, right? And if you're going to put a red herring or if you're going to put a clue somewhere that's a valid clue, you have to make sure that it flows in a way that it's not obvious, but that the reader can either be taken off the track or put on the right track and maybe taken off later. It's a complex situation to try to get somebody to go through that as they're reading a mystery. I like to read a lot of Amazon reviews,
Mm.
especially the negative ones. And I've read reviews of mystery books, not mine, but others. I read broadly of reviews. And the reviews that are negative in mysteries are when they end it with something that was completely out of left field. Like there was nothing in that manuscript that could have even given him a slight hint that that was the murderer or whatever. And so outlining ensures that my story is cohesive, that the motives of the characters are outlined because you have to keep it straight in your own head. If you have multiple characters and they all have different motivations, well, what's good, what are you going to do with that? And how do they interact? And how do they um, take one off track from the other? You know,
Yeah.
um, the Chrissy Cozy, the Chrissy, the Shih Tzu Cozy Mystery series. There's 5 books in that series, and I got that idea when I had the real Chrissy, my Shih Tzu. Um, and I was like, wow, this dog, we have such a connection. And it's like I could hear what she was thinking.
Mm.
And that's where that idea came from. But when you're using a dog with telepathic abilities, how is she going to interact with the story? How is she going to uncover clues? So Chrissy's whole persona had to be fleshed out and outlined before I could start writing.
Oh
Right
yeah.
now, and with nonfiction too, you it's like writing an essay in college. You know, you have to have a cohesive argument. It's got to make sense. And if you can't, back to that teaching bit that you mentioned, if I'm writing this and I'm teaching you how to look at something differently or try to come into it in your own way, which is what I prefer. Like I'll tell you what I do, but then I want to show you how to make it your own. Like just because it works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So I like to make sure that people have spiritual sovereignty and they're going by what they feel is their method. So to incorporate that, like all that has to be outlined. But then I write the Forest of the Dead stories of transformation or the all the dark fantasy. I'm free to roam about the cabin, like I can go anywhere I want. It doesn't have to be interlocked. It doesn't have to be red herring time. Um, so I have more freedom in that way. A lot of times I write something that has to be outlined, and then I write something that doesn't right after that
Mm.
because I have to take a break from that pressure because there is pressure when you're outlining. You know what I mean?
Yes, I sure do, because I write cozy mysteries and there has to be, like you said, that those clues and they have to mesh with the events of the story of the detective or whoever that's unraveling. Because there's something else going on too. It's usually, multiple things are happening. So the person is in my Englewood Medium cozy mystery. She is grappling with her newfound talent or skill or ability of seeing her dead father and talking with him. And so she's got that going on in her spiritual journey as well as the crazy stuff that she's trying to figure out who did it. So all that has to come in and make sense, not feel forced. Like, okay, time for a clue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Right.
doesn't really work too well.
Right. But even in outlining, what I find is when I'm in the zone, and those of you listeners who do write, I think you know what I'm talking about when I say the zone. Like you're somewhere else. Like I'm seeing the story play out. I'm seeing the characters interact. I'm seeing how a clue might fit naturally, like you were just referring to, into the plot, into the conversation. And so that zone is so productive. And even when I'm working on a manuscript that doesn't need to be outlined and I'm in the zone, it's playing out. I see it. I see it whole. And I think that's when you have the best chance of manifesting the story that's going to speak to readers.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because the energy from the author goes into the work and the reader feels that coming through. I think that's why we pick certain authors and other ones we just don't seem to connect to.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I read widely and I like to test new voices that I've never heard before. And they're not always consistent, but there's this one woman, Virginia Kaufman, and if you read her Mora books, it's my favorite opening paragraph of all time. And this woman used to be a screenwriter also in the 70s. So you could see this playing out as you're reading it. And I love that, right? You're in it. Like the world disappears and you have your tea and your blanket and you're reading this book and you're somewhere else entirely.
Mhm.
And I know that she was in the zone when she wrote that. You could feel it.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. So you're saying it's like a combination. You do outlining for some of it, and then you go into the zone, and then you come and check the outline and go back in, dive in again. Is that
Yes.
right?
I mean, I have grids and, spreadsheets and the whole outline, in a Word document. And I just, yeah, when you're writing mystery, you have to dot your I's and cross your T's. Any good mystery is going to have all the components that the reader needs to come to a conclusion. Even if it's the wrong conclusion, but you want them at the end to say, well, I can see that. That makes sense now. And thinking back on it, you did give me all the clues to get there, but I was taken away by this red herring. But without the my grid and the character outlines and the motives and the alibis, and you can't keep it all straight in your head, just in your head.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's too many details in any novel to keep it all straight. I mean, that is just way too much. I mean, maybe, Einstein brain or Tesla brain might be able to, but not us, earthbound creatures. We don't have it. Yeah.
No, and if you don't want a flat character, you have to go in, even if you don't use all of the components of that character that you build on your spreadsheet or whatever. Um, it's you understand the background, the history, their framework. Sometimes what I like to do when I'm building a character is I do astrology and readings and stuff. And so I do use astrology charts. Like I'll pick a birthday and a time of birth and everything, and I'll create a chart, and that'll be the character's chart.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So I can pull all of that information, and then if I get stuck, I use tarot cards. I have decks, I have like 70 decks, and they're all different. And some of them are like the darker ones for, the scary, the dark fantasy. Some of them are brighter, and it helps to get out of a stuck plot line. To use tools that have nothing to do with traditional writing tools.
So just to be clear now, you're using tarot cards to break through writer's block. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I never thought of that before. Wow, that sounds really fun.
Yes. And, there are other ways to do it, but because tarot is a book of metaphysics and it helps you to understand how to interact with the divine, with other people, it can tell you where the conflict is, which is essential in writing fiction, right?
Yes.
Um, it's such a natural tool. And back here, I mean, I have like a pile of the main ones that I use over here.
Wow.
And then I have my writing books, and then my books are at the very top there.
Mhm.
But I keep all those tools right near me, so that I'm like, this isn't making sense. Let me pull some cards. Um,
Do you have people pulling cards in the book too? The characters?
Sometimes, yes,
Hmm.
sometimes in my Storythorn Manor, uh, she pulls cards, and I won't tell you how she's using them, but it's a way for her to ground and to get information that she needs, especially when she's anxious. And
Mm-hmm.
I find that anyway, when I'm doing a reading or whatever, people call me when they're anxious to get a
Yeah.
reading, and then it helps them see it out here. It's not all bunched up inside anymore.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's an effective way of managing anxiety.
Wow. So there's another use for it. It's not just about, well, for me, pulling cards is more like a moment in this time, this present moment where I am in relation to myself and the divine and others. You know, what's a snapshot of where we are right now?
Mhm.
Um, but as a help for anxiety, I guess people do that, but it never occurred to me that it might help anxiety.
Yeah, in my book on tarot, The True Nature of Tarot, 10th anniversary edition, I have a section on the psychology of tarot and how to
Okay.
use it in that way.
Okay. Wow. I'm learning
Yeah.
so much today. Yeah, this is great. So, um, we've talked about the creative flow, but let's go just a little bit deeper into that. So, when you say creative flow, does that mean that where are you getting the ideas from if you're in that flow state? What's happening?
Okay, so when I channel energy, it comes in to the crown chakra for me and out my hands or my mouth if I'm speaking. For some people, it comes into the heart chakra and out. So I guess if you're writing a romance, odds are you're pulling that energy into the heart and out into the story, right? But when I'm funneling, like I always make a request before I sit down and start writing. And I ask to speak through me, the divine to speak through me and guide the writing, tell me what I need to say. And that's why sometimes when I look back on what I wrote, I'm like, hey, that sounds really good.
Ah,
I
yeah.
that's I'm so glad that happened. I don't remember writing it
Mm-hmm.
that way. And that's how I know I'm flowing with the divine energy. And when I say divine, I'm not saying it in a religious way. I'm not saying it, I mean, spiritually, yeah, but it's energy, it's moving energy, and it's the energy that we're all able to tap into. It's all around us. I wrote a whole book on the true nature of energy, transforming anxiety into tranquility. And that's what that book is about, with exercises on how to do this,
Mm-hmm.
how to ground, how to dump the excess energy. Because as a writer, if you accumulate negativity, if you accumulate fear because you're afraid, oh my God, I'm stuck. That blank page is so intimidating, right? So
Mm-hmm.
take a step back, ask, please work through me, tell me what I need to focus on, and allow it without editing, without judging it. Just write it, just allow it. And then it'll flow. If you're still stuck and the tarot didn't work, go for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things to jar me out of a writer's block situation is doing a load of laundry. Laundry, for some reason, really relaxes me. And so, you want to get your head out of your head. You want
Mm-hmm.
to get out of your head and into a physical thing. Clean the kitchen. Anything to get moving. Take a walk, right? And then if you come back and you're still stuck, odds are in a plot line. I'm not talking about nonfiction here. I'm talking about a plot line in a story. Odds are you have to go back to before you got stuck, and there's going to be something there that created this current situation that is keeping you stuck. So all you do is you go back here and you tweak it, and then it flows again. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes total sense because something isn't connecting with your final couple paragraphs. There's something in there that's disconnecting you from that forward momentum.
Yes.
And to find it, I find that if there's a question that I don't want to answer right now because I don't want to do the research or, some reason that I feel frustrated. I don't want to answer that question right now. I will get stuck. I will get really, really stuck. So I have to take a breath, maybe come back tomorrow when I have more energy to go ahead and do that research and answer the question because I'm not going anywhere until that's done. Yeah.
Right. Right. There's nothing that is more frustrating for an author um, in the creation process than feeling like you don't have anything important to say. Like, why does anybody care? Answer those before you start writing, right? Is this a story I would want to read? Because if it isn't, you're back to you put your energy into the manuscript. If you're bored, that boredom is going to translate into the reader's boredom.
Yes.
It's not different. You're connecting to somebody outside yourself, and that energy is imprinting. And so you have to find out deep within yourself, do I really love this story? Is it important enough for me to spend however long it takes you to write a book with it? Because every single time I've written 12 books and ghost written one, so 13, and every time it's like giving birth. Every time. It doesn't change, it doesn't get less um, intense. It just doesn't. And then you let it out into the world and you're like, what's going to happen now? Because people are very open with their, critiques. And you don't know what's going to happen. And that's why I have 5 beta readers for each genre that I write in. Two, I give it to them first, and I'm like, rip this apart. Like, tell me what you don't understand. Tell me if there's something wonky. Tell me if you don't like the character. Because we can only see from within our own framework. That product is going out into the world. It's public. And so you're not going to be able to see what others see. And you don't want to wait until it's out there and people are the Amazon reviews are coming in and you're like, "Oh no." You don't want to wait until that happens.
Oh yeah,
So,
50 books in, I depend on my beta readers. I will never send anything out without a lot of people looking at it first.
yes. And how many times did they see stuff that you were like, "Oh my God, I totally missed that."
Oh, every single book. And I find there's a lot of stuff that's in my head and I thought it went in the book. It did not. It didn't get in there. I skipped it somehow. And then a question comes up like, "Oh, I thought I put that in there, but I didn't." That kind of thing.
Wow. And
Yeah.
even with typos, it, running like 3 different AI, editing software, and then, going through it myself, and then they go through it, and then so an editor goes through, and they're still like,
Oh yeah.
how in God's name does that get through? It's a mystery. It's a universal mystery. But
Yeah.
for those of you doing reviews of authors, just be aware that serious authors are doing their utmost to make sure that the manuscript is clean before publication. So be kind.
Yes, please be kind because hours and hours and hours have gone into it. My Christie Award winning book had a misspelling and it was published with a misspelling. And that was after I hired two professional editors to go over it. The publisher had an editor that went over it. I went over it hundreds of times. I had spell check, and there was still a misspelled word. And the reviewer from Publishers Weekly that
Oh,
reviewed the book brought up that misspelling. And so, after that, I just say, you know what? One of the signs of a first edition is that there's mistakes. So here you go. First edition, you got a mistake, you got the winner. The perfect books come later. Yeah, I just had to get over it. But it was
yeah.
very upsetting to me at the time.
Oh, of course. Well, what makes me crazy, and I understand the negative reviews, when the typo is in the title, like
Oh my
that,
gosh.
that blows my mind. I've seen this, and I'm like, I don't know. My eye goes right to the typos in not necessarily in my own work, many times in my own, but definitely on menus, right? You're reading
Hmm.
a menu, you see all kinds of different like things they could have fixed at the printer. Um,
I see typos in the closed captions on that on the TV. Oh, yeah,
yeah, but when you're spelling cemetery ARY,
yeah,
really, that is lazy.
yeah, yeah, for
That
sure.
isn't a matter of I did everything I possibly could to make sure this was clean.
Hmm.
And that might be a clue as to whether or not you will like the energy of the work too.
Yes, yeah, yeah, for sure. If the author hasn't been diligent enough to run a simple spell check and catch those errors will come up. Then they're not really committed to the story or committed to the reader, because we want to respect the reader and give them something that is good, is good, and they will enjoy. I want the reader to get lost in the story, not go, oh my God, another typo.
That's exactly it pulls you right out.
It does. Yeah,
And
yeah,
that includes I've seen critiques that the character's called Amy in one part and then Lucy in another part. Like it was probably a draft and then they forgot to go through it. Like they decided to change the name.
yeah.
You know the process that happens in a draft, and they forgot to make it all consistent. So
Yes.
check your manuscript for consistency, guys.
Consistency is huge. Every word that you capitalize needs to be capitalized the entire time. Every number you spell needs to be spelled the entire time. I'm editing a book right now, and in some of it, the 12-step program is the number 12, and in some other places, the 12-step program is the word 12. So that has to be brought into consistency. It's so important to do the fine tuning of your manuscript.
Yes, yes, and there may be absolutes in those 12-step programs. How do they write it?
Yes.
Right? So that we're not, but other times it might be that you're capitalizing a word that normally isn't, but you're using it as a proper noun. So you have the choice of But again, the consistency is important.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you do it all the time. Just
Yes.
make sure you do it all the time. Yeah, yeah, because one thing I've learned over these years is that the readers pick up the tiniest details. They're just like, my kids were little, one of my sons loved pulling stuff out of the carpet. And he would have his little hands. He wasn't even walking yet. He was crawling. And he'd have his little hands going through the carpet to see if he could find a string or a piece of hair or something in the carpet. And of course, it went right into his mouth. I mean, I was watching him like a hawk all the time. I could not take my eyes off that kid. So that's the way the readers are. They're got their little fingers going through the manuscript looking for every little thing. And they're going to pull it out and go, look, see that?
Yes. Yes. So, but because it's easier to publish these days, and there are no gatekeepers for self-publishing, that's where diligence needs to be exponentially greater.
Yes.
Because if you're on your own and you're the one doing everything, like so many authors are today, because the money is a factor. Can you afford to pay an editor and so on? Um, but you have to make sure that you are doing your due diligence and getting a really good software program. Like I like Pro Writing 8. That's my favorite.
Yes.
Um, and it you can get it and it can be on like your browser and Outlook, and so it can edit even your emails and stuff or suggest editing. There's another thing I want to point out. Just because it suggests something doesn't mean you should use it.
Right.
It doesn't, it sometimes the suggestion takes away your voice or the voice of the character that you're writing at. And so be discreet about what it is that you're accepting as a change. Read it out loud. Does it make sense? Does it feel like you? Does it sound like the character would sound in that line of dialogue? Because some of these editors are really stringent about certain things. And some grammar rules, from what I've read, are no longer applicable. So they're still coded with maybe the old rule, or it shows something that's a misspelling, but it's not. It's just a word that isn't in its dictionary, so add it to the dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
But just because it's a computer program doesn't mean it's always right.
Absolutely. I'm fine. In my personal preference, I'm light on commas. I don't like too many commas, but the editing programs are heavy on commas. They want a comma everywhere, it seems like. There's probably four in the every sentence. And I think that's disruptive. I don't like it. But yes, you don't have to take the advice all the time. I hit that dismiss button underneath, um, if I don't want to do it so it doesn't keep telling me and keep telling me I have 75 problems in a manuscript I've already done, already corrected. Yeah.
Right. Or the suggest phrase, like most of the time they're wonky. I'm sorry. Like it is not a way that I would construct a sentence. So it wouldn't even sound like me. And I think my readers at this point, because there's so many examples of my work out there, know my voice. And so they would be like, what's this? Like, who wrote this? So I would never allow AI to write my work, first of all. And I'm very selective with what I accept as a modification.
Yes. Yes,
Very
we do.
discerning, have to be discerning. But because if you don't know grammar rules yourself, if you don't know, like we're about the same age. We were brought up with Strunk and White, Elements of Style, right? We had
Yes.
to know it by heart.
Mm-hmm.
In my
Yes.
comp class in high school, you better know Strunk and White,
Yep.
and that sticks with you. And then you can know whether or not it's a good idea of what the program is suggesting. But if you don't know in general, you're not going to know what to accept or reject.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the drawbacks of using these automated programs is that if you don't, some people feel like they don't need to know that because the program platform is going to tell them what it is when the platform is not infallible. It's not always right. Yeah, with Strunk and White, when I started editing, I read Strunk and White 20 times, put it down for a couple of years, picked it up and read it 10 more because I just wanted to absorb it. I didn't want to memorize. I just wanted it to become a part of my thinking,
Yes.
in that way, because I wanted to be a good editor. That was my goal. And so I wanted to automatically know what should happen here, in this situation. But that's not
Yes.
that's not common anymore, seems like.
No. No. There's a website called the Grammar Girl. You can also read that website, and she's pretty good. Um, if it's like one of those weird cases that you're really not sure, uh, I subscribe to various grammar newsletters. I know that's kind of nerdy, but you don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And it's never bad to have a refresher. It's always a valuable thing to go, oh yeah, I knew that. Okay. Okay. I'm still good with that information. Because the
Yes,
brain has a way of twisting what you thought you knew and then
absolutely.
changing it.
Yeah. I saw so many periods outside of quotation marks that I
Oh,
thought, has the rule changed? I actually I emailed a friend and said, has the rule changed so it's outside? And she said, no, it hasn't.
in England, that's proper.
Really?
But we're
Okay.
not in England.
We're not in England. No, we're not in England. At least for now, it's still always inside the quotation marks. No
Yes,
matter what. Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. So, wow, this has been fabulous. So tell me, what's coming up for you now? What's next?
Well, I am working on a lot of book twos this year. I plan on three this year. So, book two that I'm working on right now is Forest of the Dead Stories of Transformation, Peru. The
Ooh.
first one was in Pennsylvania with the trees of Pennsylvania. And it's about a guy whose mother passes and she wants to be buried in a forest, this weird giant forest that he had never seen before then. And this is how I actually want to be buried. You get a biosurn, the ashes go in, a sapling on top, and you grow into a tree.
Oh, yeah.
And this person, these limited number of people, can go to these trees and read the stories of the tree spirit.
Oh, wow.
And and so the book shows it's fiction, but it's like magical realism. So it's Samuel's journey plus it's all the stories of the tree spirits. So the first one is in Pennsylvania, the second one's in Peru. Um, I want to work on the true nature of energy too. The outline is 5 pages. So that's definitely outlined, and I have to compare it to the first one to make sure I'm not being redundant. But that's another major project for this year. And then a work called Love Patterns, another nonfiction based on independent research on the patterns that we have in selecting the people that are our closest relationships, including our, you know, love interests, spouses, whatever.
Hmm. Wow, I'd love to see that one. That one's of interest to me for sure. Yeah. Well, whenever you have a new release, just get in touch with me and we'll do another interview. That'll be great.
Thank you. Oh, and if you want to go to my websites, I'm
Yes.
having this programmed in right now. If you subscribe, there's going to be go to dianewingauthor.com and or dianewing.com and look at the subscribe button, and there will be options for you to click as far as your interest. So I don't want to be sending emails out of things that you're not interested in. So on the author site, you'll see 3 genres. So you pick one or more that you're interested in, and that's you'll receive, you know, information about when it's coming out. Or
What a great idea. I've never heard of anyone do that before. Yeah, terrific. Awesome. Well, Diane, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for taking time to spend with us today.
thank you so much.
And thank you for being with us today. See you next time.